Well, Giselle taught us that Tom Brady couldn't both throw and catch the ball, and the Denver Broncos couldn't be at both Washington and North Carolina Pro Day. They made a very conscientious decision in who they sent the bulk of their scouts to, and it's very telling who the Broncos are preferring between Drake Maye and Michael Penix Jr. We're going to break that all down in this video, look at highlights of both of their pro days, what I think it means, and who was there. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I break down all things Denver Broncos. I love engaging with all your comments and your thoughts. If you like that kind of content, it helps me out a ton if you smash that like button and hit subscribe. Let's dive into the news of the day, and that was that in Washington, you had Michael Penix throw into some very talented receivers running a 40-yard dash, which a lot of these quarterbacks didn't run at their pro day. Some of them did at the combine, and people like Caleb Williams never did it. He was painting his nails during that time. Unfortunately, the Broncos couldn't be at both places. Michael Penix, by all accounts, will definitely still be on the board at 12, and so you would think that, hey, an absolute layup of a person that you could get, that's who we should send the bulk of our talented scouts and our GM and our whole posse to, but instead, we routed all of them to Chapel Hill to watch Drake Maye, so we'll look at some highlights for both of those and what I think that means. So if we're looking here at Michael Penix's pro day, he just athletically completely balled out. He ran a faster 40 than Justin Fields ran, and like we know, Justin Fields had some wheels, and he's got way better ball placement than Justin Fields. He actually isn't that much younger than Justin Fields, and he's just got a very riddled injury history. So perhaps that alone made him not fit Sean Payton's system, or maybe Sean Payton wants to, again, be throwing up that smoke screen of not allowing teams to know that we like Michael Penix. But I also think it's really telling. If you remember back to the draft combine, we broke down all of the dudes' press conferences, and Michael Penix got up there and said the Broncos did things differently than anyone else. They threw up all of his bad film and had him react to it. And he was like, oh, it was really different. They made me look at all my bad throws. So really, does Sean Payton just not like him because our head scouts, our GM, our assistant GM weren't there? And he really showed out. Look at this, running a 4.40. This dude just has some absolute wheels. Looks jacked out of his mind, not even an ounce of body fat on him, and it looks like he's even pulling up by the end there and still running a 4.46. And if you look here at his vertical, I feel like they paused the video in midair just because he's got that, that pause that athletes have when they're like insanely athletic and they seem to kind of just float in the air like Michael Jordan famously did. But you have him jumping almost 37 inches and running a 4.46 40. He's just athletically an absolute animal. I think the big concern with him obviously is the injuries, and then you watched how he looked against the University of Michigan in one of the biggest games, and you see him overthrow some really talented receivers. There are people saying that his receivers are better than Marvin Harrison Jr., and that he has first-round receivers like a Jamar Chase who make him seem better than he actually was. So all of the Broncos' big dudes were actually in Chapel Hill for the guy that a lot of people are saying is going to be off the board at number 2. So was all of Sean Payton's hype about J.J. McCarthy, coming into that breakfast at the league meeting, he was like, we're not going to name any players specifically. And then immediately he starts talking all about the 4th pick and how it'd be great to be the Arizona Cardinals GM and how he'd love to have the 4th pick, and how that it's very realistic that we trade up to the 4th, that we spent 5 hours with J.J. McCarthy. Was all of that talk trying to hope other teams think we want JJ so that somehow if Drake Maye falls, we can snatch him before others would do that? So I think that's really interesting. We not only were we at the pro day with, look at this, you have George Payton, incredible scouter, leading the scout team. Then you got our assistant GM there as well. You have our offensive coordinator, who we stole from the Chargers. You remember Joe Lombardi. We had Davis Webb, who's an incredible quarterback coach. And then we had our passing assistant, who we brought in from kind of as Sean Payton's right-hand man, Carmichael, who we brought in from the Saints. So that is basically every big name that you could send to a pro day that you could possibly send other than Sean Payton. So it'll be interesting to see, do we bring Drake Maye to one of those individual visits in Denver? But I think the fact that we send all of these guys to go watch Drake Maye, meaning none of them are actually watching Washington. And the other interesting part there is that there are a lot of other players to watch at Washington, whereas at the UNC Pro Day, there aren't a ton of other players that are even potential. So you have all eyes there, all eyes on Drake Maye. That they're not there to watch. You couldn't even name another player at North Carolina other than obviously Javonte, who's not there anymore. But you can't think of a single person who would be there. And we also did long sit-down meetings yesterday at LSU's Pro Day with Jaden Daniels. So all of this love going to all these quarterbacks other than the one that we could easily get with Michael Penix. And so then looking here, Drake Maye really hit or miss at his Pro Day. Literally, you're throwing on air. And this is a time where you really shouldn't see a ton of balls hitting the ground. And if they're hitting the ground, it should be because they're, John Elway rockets. I remember reading an article about a player with like a bruise on his chest from catching John Elway rockets. Like that's how hard he was throwing the ball. So that's what you want to see when you see passes hit the ground, is like a receiver bobbles it. But check out this play here. I thought this was not a good look when you're throwing on air. Looking good in the drop back and just sails it way over the frame. It doesn't even come into the frame of this video. Maybe refresh here quick. All right, see him drop back. Obviously, he's not even rolling. And just look, you can't even see the ball in the frame. Not a good look there to sail something. But I think he made up for it in several other places. Just looking here. He has good footwork and just boom, right on the money. Hits the dude right in stride. So there were some times where you're just like, oh my goodness, go get this guy. He is the future. You hear Justin Herbert comps. You hear Josh Allen comps. He can move when he has to. He's not the fastest. And then obviously they always end their pro day on just some ridiculous throw. And this one here had me super hyped just watching his last throw of the throw day. Here he is on the move, kind of throwing off his left foot there and kind of fading away. And that just filthy to be able to throw the ball like that. And he looks very, very good. Other things that were interesting was seeing that the coaches who did attend Penix's Pro Day said that he locked in a first-round draft pick. A lot of people were saying like you could pick him up in the second or maybe even the third. And now, according to some insiders, that his arm strength is crazy in person, and he locked himself in as a first-rounder. So now we're talking, everyone's saying Bo Nix is going to be a first-rounder. And so now you're talking, are there going to be 6 quarterbacks in the first round of the NFL draft? One of the things that, if we have Drake Maye, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and J.J. McCarthy all go in the top 10, that really scares me. That would be an absolute historic first round for quarterbacks. And unless this is a once-in-a-lifetime quarterback class, we're going to have multiple of those first 4 just kind of poop the bed. And so I do not like the fact that all their, everyone's saying that we'd have to trade up for JJ. I don't feel comfortable doing that at this point, just because the chances are that, of those 4 guys, only one of them will be on the team that signed them or that drafted them when it comes time for a second contract. We just don't have the draft capital to be doing that at this time. Curious what y'all think after watching that. Are you thinking that Sean Payton does not like Michael Penix, which is why he didn't attend that pro day? Or are we trying to throw up smoke screens and make folks think that we are very interested in JJ, make them think we're interested in Drake Maye with the hopes of landing a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix later on? It's going to be a crazy couple weeks here as we prepare for the NFL draft in Broncos country. Hope you are staying with me, and we are always going to giddy up. Oh, never a doubt on that one.